The forest was still before sunrise. Mist curled around the roots of giant banyans as a young woman walked barefoot through the dew. Her name was Arani, though the world would soon forget it. She carried no bowl, no robe, no fear, only a question that burned quietly in her heart. Can truth be found without a teacher? Can peace walk before the world is ready to see it? The river whispered. The birds waited. Arani looked toward the mountains and felt the pull of something vast, wordless, eternal. She left behind the sound of human voices and entered a silence that would one day teach the Buddha himself. Days passed in silence. Arani ate roots and drank from rainwater pooled in lotus leaves. She slept beneath stars, her body thin, but her heart steady. Fear would visit her at night, the eyes of beasts, the echo of loneliness, but it could not enter her. She began to listen to the sound behind all sounds, the quiet pulse that lived in every breath. When the rains came, Arani built no shelter. She let the storm soak her robes and wash the dust from her skin. Each drop was a teacher, each clap of thunder a call to remain unmoved. Her body trembled, yet her mind stood still, like the mountain beyond the clouds. One morning she watched a deer drink at the same stream. It did not fear her. In that stillness, she saw the truth that the heart at peace harms nothing and nothing harms it. For the first time, she smiled. The forest was no longer her solitude. It had become her reflection. As dusk fell, she placed her hand over her heart and whispered, "Let the world forget my name, but not the light that sees." In the quiet, a single leaf drifted down and landed before her, spinning gently in the air, glowing in the last ray of sun. Tree and turl. Ball. She closed her eyes, and the screen faded into night. Norwal, a singing eye. Years passed like wind through trees. Arani, now hardened by solitude, sat before her own reflection in the river. Hunger no longer troubled her. Fear had become a quiet guest, yet a deeper fire burned within, not of desire, but of questioning. What remains when even thought falls silent? The river shimmered, showing not her face, but something vast, and still behind it, in the heart of the forest, she built a circle of stones and sat within it for 7 days. Memories rose, her mother's voice, her childhood laughter, and then vanished like smoke. Every sound became one sound, every breath, one breath. She saw the mind creating its own cage and smiled as it broke apart. One evening, as the horizon blazed red, Arani's thoughts grew wild again. Visions of the world she left, family, festivals, voices surged like fire. But she did not flee. She watched them rise and fall, like sparks dying in the night sky. For the first time, she understood that peace was not found by running from the storm, but by sitting still within it. When darkness came, she felt the forest breathing with her. The rustle of leaves, the heartbeat of animals, the rhythm of rain on soil. In that shared pulse, she sensed no separation. Every living thing was a mirror, every sound a voice of the same awakening. By the time dawn broke again, the fire within her mind had turned to light. The need to seek was gone. Only seeing remained. The forest no longer felt vast. It was simply her own breath, spread across earth and sky. She rose, her steps soundless, her heart untouched by time. Far beyond the forest, a young prince named Siddhartha rode out at dawn, his heart restless beneath the weight of luxury. The city's songs no longer stirred him. He longed to see truth beyond marble walls. His path curved toward the wilderness, where stories spoke of a strange woman who lived without fear, whose eyes saw through illusion itself. The winds carried her name, Arani, though few believed she was real. By the time Siddhartha reached the forest's edge, silence replaced the hum of the city. He dismounted, walked barefoot into the green hush, and felt his heartbeat slow. There, beside the river, he saw her, a woman sitting unmoving, her robe the color of earth, her gaze vast as the sky. She looked no older than 30, yet her stillness carried centuries. "Are you a goddess?" the prince asked softly. Arani smiled. "If I were, would your question matter?" Her voice was low, like wind through hollow bamboo. Siddhartha sat before her, humbled yet unknowing. "What is peace?" he whispered. "Peace," she said, "is when the seeker no longer stands apart from what is sought." Her words fell into him like rain on parched soil. They sat in silence as the light changed from gold to blue. Siddhartha felt something shift, a quiet he had never known. But youth is eager. When he finally rose, he bowed and said, "One day, I will find what you have seen." Arani smiled faintly. "When you stop searching," she whispered. "You already have." As the prince's horse carried him back toward the palace, the forest behind him shimmered in moonlight. Arani watched his figure disappear among the trees, her gaze neither proud nor sad, only knowing. "He will awaken," she murmured. "And the world will remember his name, not mine." The wind stirred her hair as the moon climbed higher, reflecting softly on her face, the first teacher, forgotten before she was known. Seasons turned and vanished like waves against a quiet shore. Irani grew older, her hair silvering under the sun, her eyes deepening with stillness. The forest had become her breath, the river her mirror, the wind her teacher. She no longer sought awakening, it had already bloomed within her like light through mist. Yet the world still slept, dreaming of gods and kings. That night, beneath the vast banyan canopy, Arani entered meditation so deep that breath itself became soundless. The moon traced her silhouette in silver. Within, she watched her thoughts dissolve like clouds fading from the sky. In their place, there was only a clear and endless seeing. No beginning, no end. At dawn, she opened her eyes. The forest glowed as if newly born. Every leaf shimmered with life. Every sound pulsed with clarity. She saw not the world, but the world seeing itself through her. The illusion of Abdeyi had fallen away like an old rope. Arani smiled gently. The journey was over, though no one had watched it begin. She rose, feeling the air move through her as if she were made of wind. Birds circled above, and even their flight seemed part of her breath. She bowed to the earth, not in worship, but in gratitude. "There is no Irani," she whispered. "Only this." As the sun rose higher, she walked to the river one final time. The water reflected her form not as a woman, but as shimmering light merging with sky. She stepped into the river, and the reflection vanished. Only the ripples remained, widening, soft, eternal. The forest fell silent. Enlightenment had come unseen, unnamed, complete. Years later, a prince named Siddhartha left behind his palace, his silks, and his throne. He walked barefoot into the same wilderness that had once held the woman called Arani. He did not know her name, but the silence she had entered still lingered in the air, a memory the forest had kept. Each step he took awakened echoes of her breath, as if her spirit waited in the trees, guiding him toward the same unseen truth. Under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha sat and faced the great fire of his mind, desire, fear, and illusion rising like storm clouds. But as he sank deeper, something familiar stirred within him, a presence beyond words. He could not name it, but it was as if a forgotten hand had once pointed him toward this stillness. Arani's whisper, long lost to history, returned as silence itself. When dawn broke, light touched the crown of his head, and the world changed. The Buddha opened his eyes not to see the world, but to see through it. The air was clear, the earth still. He saw no difference between himself and the river, the sky, or the dust on his skin. In that instant, enlightenment bloomed again as it once had, unseen, in the heart of the woman forgotten by name. Villagers came and bowed before him, and word spread. The Buddha has awakened. Yet the forest remained quiet, holding a secret smile. For before his awakening, another flame had burned unseen beneath its roots. The forest knew. The wind had brushed his face was the same breath that once stirred Arani's hair. That night, the Buddha gazed at the moon and felt a strange tenderness, a quiet gratitude without name or form. Somewhere, in a silence beyond memory, he felt her presence. Not as a woman, not as a teacher, but as truth itself, the same truth that flowers unseen. He bowed gently to the sky. The moonlight flickered across his eyes like a blessing shared between two awakenings. Years passed, and the Buddha's teachings spread like rivers across the land. Kings and beggars alike came to listen, yet few spoke of those who had walked the path before him. One afternoon at Vulture Peak, as the Buddha sat surrounded by monks, a soft wind passed through the valley carrying a fragrance of wet earth and wild jasmine. He paused, mid-teaching, his gaze turning toward the horizon. For a moment, he remembered a woman by a river, her words like calm thunder. Later, when Ananda approached and asked, "Lord, why did you stop speaking?" The Buddha smiled faintly. "A breeze reminded me of silence," he said. But in that silence, Ananda saw something deeper, a softness in his master's eyes, as if he remembered someone whose name the world had forgotten. One evening, Mahaprajapati Gotami asked Ananda, "Were there enlightened women before the Blessed One?" Ananda hesitated, then said, "There are whispers of a hermit woman who reached awakening long ago. Her name was lost." Gotami closed her eyes and murmured, "Then she must have walked the same path, the one without footprints." That night, Gotami dreamed of a forest bathed in moonlight. A woman sat beneath a vast banyan, her silver hair falling around her shoulders, her eyes vast and clear as the sky. "Who are you?" Gotami asked in the dream. The woman smiled. "No one," she said. "And that is why I am free." When Gotami awoke, she felt tears upon her cheeks. At dawn, she went to the Buddha and bowed low. "There was one before you," she said softly. He looked into her eyes and nodded. "Yes," he whispered, "but truth does not belong to one name. It rises where hearts are ready." The sun climbed over Vulture Peak, and in that light, the air shimmered as if Arani herself smiled once more. Unseen, yet ever present. Time moved on, and the Buddha's final years grew quiet. The world called him Tathagata, the one thus gone, yet even he knew truth cannot be owned. One evening, as the sun faded beyond the plains, he sat alone beside a river. Its current shimmered like memory. In the rippling water, he thought he saw her face calm, ageless, smiling. The woman who had once shown him what silence meant. He spoke to the monks the next morning, his voice light as wind. "Do not cling to me. The Dharma is not a name or a memory. It is the seeing that remains when there is no one left to see." The disciples listened in stillness, unaware that his words were born from a silence once shared with a forgotten woman beneath a banyan tree. As twilight deepened, the Buddha lay beneath twin sal trees. Flowers rained softly upon him, though the wind was still. In that hush, he smiled faintly and whispered, "The path continues." And somewhere beyond the mortal world, a breeze carried that whisper through endless forest, where it touched the spirit of Arani, resting in boundless peace. In the unseen realm between breaths, Arani stood once more beneath her banyan. No body, no form, only awareness, radiant and still. She looked upon the world with quiet joy. The seed she had planted in silence had blossomed across generations. She had no name, no shrine, no followers, and yet her truth lived in every heart that sought peace without pride. At dawn, the first birds sang over the river, and the world continued, kings forgotten, Names erased, truth unchanged. The breeze carried a whisper through the leaves. Let the world forget my name, but not the light that sees. The camera rose through the canopy, revealing the sky awash in gold, vast, open, eternal.